Leather has had a long history in Western bookmaking. Some of the oldest books have survived because they're protected from temperature changes and humidity by a leather cover. Another benefit to a leather cover is the variety of decorative techniques and binding structures that can be used. Tooling, embossing, gilding, dyeing, etching, stitching, staining, these are just a few of the processes that can create unique patterns and textures on leather. Now, it's rare to find such a book today, but there are skillful artists who handcraft leather book covers in the century-old art form. However, a beginning artist might find natural leather working difficult because of the cost, the practice time needed to develop skills, and perhaps the ethics of working with animal products. So, allow me to demonstrate a process for creating a journal that looks and feels like aged distressed leather. It can be created using many of the same techniques. So, this is paper leather. It's a really dense, extremely durable yet very flexible paper. At this stage, it looks like just any other paper, or perhaps very new leather. To make a small journal, cut a sheet in half lengthwise and make a crease fold in the center. Sometimes it's helpful to have a tool like a bone folder. As leather ages, it takes on a mottled appearance, especially if it's handled a lot like a book would be. To age paper leather, simply crumple it a few times and squeeze it in your hands to form stress lines, like so. I'm going to open it up, turn it over, and crumple from this side. Then stain it with a watercolor wash. Now I've thinned down some brown liquid watercolor with some water, about a 50-50 mixture. Have some paper towels handy, and then brush the color across the surface of the paper. Use the paper towel and immediately blot up some of the paint. Now, how much you take off depends on how much pressure you use. I like to have a variety. And you see how the watercolor naturally flows down into those stress lines? Here is a piece that has been painted on both sides and allowed to dry. Now, if I wanted to distress it further, I could use a little bit of sandpaper. Sanding also softens the feel of the paper, so even a little bit of light sanding is beneficial. To keep busy while the page is drying, prepare the pages for the inside of the journal. Now, while any paper can be used, I think parchment paper really complements this distressed look. Measure the cover and plan for the pages to be the same size or slightly smaller than the cover. Fold and crease each sheet before assembling in a booklet form. Now, with a ruler and a pencil, measure a line 1/4 inch from the fold, then create marks every 1/2 inch. Next, cut each of these small lines right up to that first line. Setting the pages aside, let's finish up the cover. It's lovely just like this, but if you like the feel of embossed leather, here's an easy way to hand emboss paper leather. You want to emboss from the back side first. I'm going to tape a letter stencil here on the front side, just temporarily. You could use plastic stencils or cut your own shapes. I'm going to use a rounded wooden tool to start out with. With this, I'm just going to find the edges and begin the embossing. The paper needs to stretch with the help of this tool. And see how strong paper leather is and how much force it stands up to. After I've embossed with that for a while, I'm going to use a small embossing tool to really get into the creases and the corners. Here's an example where I've done a lot of embossing and then I removed the stencil. See how that pops? Now, to assemble the cover and the pages, this is a real super easy tab binding technique. The cover needs to have tabs cut in it, just like the pages did. So, on the inside of the cover, repeat drawing the line and cutting the tabs every 1/2 inch. Next, insert the pages, and from the inside fold, create tabs by pushing out every other one. Leave a wooden strip, or you could use a piece of leather lacing, perhaps, or ribbon, raffia. You might need a needle tool to get fibers like that through here, in and out of the tabs. And then fold your book around. Now for extra security, I like to put a little bit of glue in the top and bottom areas just for extra security so it doesn't slide in and out. Now before I wrap this up, I'd love to show you some options for enhancing the journal. So let's look at some examples. You could incorporate scraps of leather, suede, or faux materials by gluing to the paper leather. Now this is a great use for old purses, belts, or boots. You could use a needle to do some stitching. Using cord, hemp, or thread through the material. You could add some beads, a border, embroidery, like this example. You could insert chipboard to make a more rigid journal, or if you're an experienced bookmaker, you could weave multiple signatures together with the tab binding to create a saddle-stitched or case-bound version. Everyone could use a special notebook, sketchbook, or journal. And if you'd like to make your own or a special gift for someone else, visit dickblick.com for a downloadable PDF of this project with complete instructions and more.